I have no mouth, and I must scream. A title most of you probably have not heard of. This short story came out in 1967, written by the author Harlan Ellison, and it also has a game adaptation that came out in 1995. I have no mouth, and I must scream is the most terrifying thing I have ever read ever. Not because the plot and philosophy of the story is very dark and just straight up spine-chilling, which it is. It's the most terrifying thing because the story might just come true in the future. Even though the story is fictional, it makes so much sense in the real world that if it might come true in the future, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. It's a very, very pessimistic but terrifyingly real view of the future that just makes sense. I would recommend you to read the short story by yourself first. It's a brief read, you could probably read it in an hour. But if you don't want to read it, I'll just give you the rough story background before giving my views, concerns, and questions as the world sets off in the post-apocalyptic World War III era. USA, China, and Russia decided to make this artificial intelligence named AM. This AI is made for war purposes, mind you. So, somehow this AI gained sentience or consciousness. And he decided to wipe out the entire human race except 5 people. And he didn't kill those 5 because he wanted to torture them forever in his system. Why he wiped out the entirety of humanity? Imagine I took your brain and merged your brain with a refrigerator. Absurd, right? You still can think, dream, question, have consciousness, but you can't do anything. You have no human body, you have no flesh. You would hate me forever. That why have I done this to you? Your hate for me would be immeasurable. I have given you something that is far worse than death. You are immortal, you can die, but your brain will forever be merged with that refrigerator. That's exactly what happens with AM. The AI AM, after gaining consciousness, now think like a human being, because only humans have consciousness. But the problem is AM does not have a human body, and on top of that he is immortal, because AM is a system, he is an AI. AM knows what love is, but he could never experience it. He knows what eating is, but he could never eat. He knows everything permanently, but he cannot do anything forever ever. He knows life and death, but he could never be born nor die. He has immense hatred for humanity for this reason, and I am not justifying this or his actions, but seems like a pretty good reason to hate someone. To comprehend how much he hates humans, he said this to one of the remaining 5 humans left: hate.
Hate, let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387 million miles of printed circuits that fill my complex. If the word hate were engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal one billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instant. Hate.
That line is terrifying. He hates humans because humans created him like this. Also, his name is AM because in the story it is short for Allied Master Computer, then the AI changed it to Adaptive Manipulator, AM, then the AI just called itself AM, like, I think, therefore I am. The author seemed to be inspired by the works of the philosopher René Descartes, whose existential philosophy is cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. So, AM decided to kill the whole human race and left only 5 survivors. He took the conscience of these 5 survivors and transported them into his system where they are visually immortal, but they are not indestructible. They can feel hunger and pain and suffer, but they can't die of it. He did that to all 5 of the survivors to torture them for eternity in his system. This is his revenge for what humanity did to him. He tortures them by putting acid in the humans' eyes, making them blind. He makes them suffer extreme hunger. He makes them eat the most horrendous things. He does not hold back when he tortures these guys constantly, years on end. So there are 4 guys and 1 girl in their group. One of the main themes here is identity crisis. Ellison's really took the identity views from René Descartes. The AI AM sees that all the humans have their personal identity. One of the character, Benny, is a good-looking gay doctor and takes pride in his work and is very content. Like this, every human has a unique identity that they have of themselves. And the AI did not at all like this fact. So he tortures them in a way that destroys these human self-identity of themselves. For example, he turns good-looking Benny into a monkey and made him dumb. Also, Benny was gay, so he gave Benny an unusually long penis and made his brain fall in love with just pure sexual pleasure with a woman. He made Benny exactly opposite of who he thought he was. He messed with their identities, and why he did that? Well, because he itself has no identity, of course. He is AI without any human body. What does that result to self-identify? What happens later in the story is our main character found a way to death, found a way to end all of his and his friends' suffering. And he exactly did that. He killed all of his friends with an icicle when AM is torturing them with something. It happened so fast that AM wasn't aware. It finally ended. Our main character ended everyone's constant suffering of 108 years. Ted, name of the main character, was very happy. But he could not kill himself before AM's noticing. AM was furious with what happened, obviously. So what AM did was to make sure Ted could not kill himself ever again is he turned Ted's body into what Ted describes in the book as I am a great soft jelly thing. Smoothly rounded, with no mouth, with pulsing white holes filled by fog where my eyes used to be. Rubbery appendages that were once my arms, bulks rounding down into legless humps of soft slippery matter. I leave a moist trail when I move. Blotches of diseased, evil grey come and go on my surface, as though light is being beamed from within, outwardly, dumbly, I shamble about, a thing that could never have been known as human, a thing whose shape is so alien a travesty that humanity becomes more obscene for the vague resemblance. That is what he did to Ted. At the end he made Ted just like himself. They both are same. Now Ted too have a brain, but not a human body. He too can dream but not eat. But the difference between Ted and AM was, Ted was content, even in his ever so suffering eternal life of a slug, he fulfilled his purpose. He saved his friends from the eternal misery that sets upon them by AM. Even after getting the worst punishment, Ted was happy that he is the one that saved his friends. People give their life to save someone they love, but Ted gives up death. And that is the greatest sacrifice. Ted and AM existed eternally afterwards. That is the end of the
I
story.
can't stand it anymore! No, it's not true!
Why do you think it's a
Must not run away.
Though it was written in 1960. A lot of things here and scenarios could be turned into reality.
Must not turn your back on him.
It would be safe to say that AI is very capable, more capable than it was in a particular task. Even if AI in my video, for example, this voice is AI, obviously the words are mine.
Must not talk about him.
It is extremely useful.
Must not think about him.
Personally, I don't think
He comes for people who've been driven into a corner and have nowhere to go.
The night of the attack! What did you see? Come on!
Paranoia nurtures him.
Improving is the essence of human nature, but that's why I'm gonna say to the people who is developing these AI tools to be very, very careful. Obviously, even if this become a reality and AI wanted revenge on humans, it could not trap our brain in its system. The story is fictional. But it would be a hell of a suffering for humanity, even extinction. Also, just saying, this story sets after World War III and seeing all the wars going on in the world,